All right, today we're going to talk about some general texting information, some safety tips to make sure that you're doing the right thing, just staying safe while you're texting. The first thing that you need to realize is that you probably shouldn't be giving your phone number out online, on surveys, quizzes, online forums, things like that. This could be a scam. It could be something that make you vulnerable for cyberbullying. Criminals obviously can pick that stuff up. So you really don't want to give that out to people to make sure that they can't contact you whenever they're looking to do that. Another thing that you need to know is that you should never just give your personal information, identifying information out to anybody in a crowded area. You never know who might be listening, who might remember that, who might think, hey, it'd be funny to call you, text you later. You never want to do that. It's never a good idea. Um, you also want to make sure that if you ever let somebody use your phone, that you practice some safe practices there as well, regardless of who the person is, right? So you need to know exactly what they're going to be doing when they use your phone, because you know if they're going on something inappropriate, that's your phone. That means that you did it. When people look back, and obviously you can get in trouble for that. Um, you want to make sure that you're not texting personal information to those people, um, because sometimes they keep those texts. Sometimes phones can be lost, and then other people get those texts. You want to make sure that you are never giving out passwords or pins to a friend, um, because once again, those things can be lost or forgotten, and then they end up in the wrong hands. And then finally, you want to make sure that anybody that you're texting, that you actually have met them, right? You don't want to have somebody that you just contacted online or whatnot, and then you end up meeting them and they are not who you thought they were originally. It's never a good idea. You make sure that you're just being safe when you're doing stuff like that. When we get back to letting other people borrow your phones, like I said, you want to know exactly what they're doing when they use your phone. Um, if they are sending texts to be mean or joking to other people, that's you sending that text according to the person that's receiving it. So you have to know that there's going to be consequences when they send those texts as they were joking or whatever that you'll have to deal with, and that's never fun. Um, Also, once again, anything that they go online, do, or whatever, they're using your phone, so technically they're acting as you, and you need to know that. Um, if you ever receive a suspicious text or something like that from an unknown number, it's never a good idea to open up to any attachments, pictures, stuff like that, because you have no idea what's being sent to you. So always be aware of that. If you don't recognize the number sending you something, ignore it, right? You can block them, you can just ignore it, don't send stuff back. Obviously, you can tell somebody if you think you need to, stuff like that. Just make sure you're making proper decisions. If you ever get text from somebody who's bothering or scaring you, block the number, right? You don't need to receive those. It's not normal to receive texts that make you feel uncomfortable like that. Talking to your parents or another adult that's trusted is obviously probably a good course of action, but it's not okay to just continue to receive things that make you uncomfortable, make you feel terrible. No reason to do that. When we talk about usage safety, there's also, legitimate issues that it could cause your body if you're doing this too much, right? If you are distracted while you're texting, obviously you aren't driving yet, but when you get older, you will. But even walking, right? If you're crossing the street and you're texting and not looking, you could easily get hit by a car. You could trip over something, fall, hurt yourself. It's just always better to not be doing other things while you're texting. Um, if you're texting late at night and it's dark, a lot of times that can cause a lot of strain on your eyes and can legitimately cause you some medical issues if you continue with that. And then when it comes to sleep, if you're on your phone a lot at night, instead of going to sleep, or instead of doing your homework and getting in trouble at school, a lot of times, you need the sleep to restart your body, recharge your batteries. And if you're not getting that, it can cause you some legitimate medical issues. So just make sure that you use your phone in moderation. Don't make it something that's a ridiculous all the time thing, and you should be okay. When we talk etiquette, there's obviously some texting etiquette, right? If you're trying to use sarcasm when you're texting, or a lot of you know that if you type in all caps, people are going to get a certain indication about those texts that maybe you didn't really mean, right? If you're being sarcastic, they can't tell when they receive those texts. So oftentimes it's just better to send texts and send exactly what you mean to say rather than, joking around, because people can obviously take that the wrong way, and then not really know what you're talking about. So that's always just something to be aware of. When we talk about texting can, a lot of cyberbullying can actually happen from texting as well. Like we hear a lot about social media and how that happens, but it happens through text as well. So, if you should really never be sending those, obviously. Like you wouldn't ever want to text something to somebody that you wouldn't say to them in person, for one, right? So always make sure that you're sending what you mean to say, and that you would say that to them in person. Um, Always try to put yourself in the place of the person you're sending the text to. Like, how are they going to receive this? Are they going to be happy? If not, then probably shouldn't send that, right? And that goes to the next one, right? If you're really mad and you mean to send something that's mean to somebody else, you probably should just take a step back, put the phone down, cool off, and then what you want to say later when you are calm is probably going to be a lot better than what you would want to say to them when you were angry. Um, if you're writing something that you're meaning to make somebody feel bad about, you probably should not do that, right? Very rarely do you send something that's mean and then feel great about it later, right? Eventually, you'll end up regretting that. Wish you hadn't sent it. It's always better to just, if you have something mean to say, just don't say anything, right? It's a good thing to live by, and it's good with texting as well. On the flip side, if you're receiving those texts, once again, that's not normal. You should not be receiving things that are hurtful. It's totally okay to block those people. It's totally okay to speak to an adult, and not deal with that. So just always keep that in mind. When it comes to texting, just practice those safe texting guidelines, the etiquette. Practice all that. Make sure you're doing the right thing. Finish the rest of this module. Make sure you finish that assignment up at the very end, and I will see you on Monday.